So back when Dark Gathering first started, I heard a lot of manga readers refer to this show kind of as like the Pokemon of horror anime, and at this time and for a good while, I didn't really see what they were referring to. Like, yeah, okay, I guess maybe because they're going around capturing spirits, but it doesn't really feel like a Pokemon style series. But you know what? After episode 12, I think that really is the best description, because when we take a step back, and especially when I compare the anime of Pokemon, right? The idea that we deal with this insane spirit and we essentially get on its good side, we set it free and let it be peaceful, and it hands us a ribbon or a piece of cloth so that if we're ever in need, we can summon it. And it's like, okay, that moment right there feels like all the times within the anime Ash ended up making friends with a legendary Pokemon and he could call in favors, or at the very least, he just ended up with connections down the line. Because while we didn't get another one officially in our party, like we're not just using it in our utility belt, we do have a shield whenever we need it. And the idea of, especially when you see the map, the idea of almost going from region to region, like we're going across Kanto or Johto, the fact that we're pretty much collecting gym badges in the form of dealing with all these different spirits, whether they're S rank or A rank, whatever they are, and we're building up our power, building up our army to go after the champion, in this case being that creepy mofo who wants to marry little girls. And I'm like, okay, you know what? The horror anime Pokemon series, that really is Dark Gathering, and I wouldn't even explain it in any other way. Full live reaction though to episode 12, available on my Patreon if you would like to see my full uncut thoughts. It's over there if you're interested. Now, I wasn't happy last week. I thought it was some BS. I knew Yayoi would come out of it. I mean, I watched the preview, but at the same time, you can't just leave a girl hanging like that and leave the viewers hanging after seemingly killing her off. I was expecting that it really was her hanging there, and whether he would cut it down in time and she'd like just start breathing again, CPR, I figured that's the way they were going. Turns out, big old illusion, and damn do they go into the horror design, because when the mouth starts going weird, I mean, I don't know, it's just, after seeing someone you care for, you think dead before your eyes, and then they seem possessed, even though he's rationalizing it as, okay, that's not her, this is all fake, that's still freaky as hell, man. And I don't know what got into Yayoi this week, because she was popping eyeballs out. She pierced someone from the back of the neck through the mouth, and the way we end up saving Keitaro after he starts basically killing himself because of the chant, she has to then stop his vocal cords, so she has to stick her hand down his throat. It was a weird episode for that reason, but you have to admit it was pretty clever with how they dealt with it, because we finally get to see what the graduate is capable of. So basically, we send out our best Pokemon, she sends out hers. Turns out all these spirits we're seeing are just kind of fragmented off of her, so it's just one spirit at the end of the day. The cool thing was basically that we kind of have like a monk, and he starts doing the sutra, and what ends up happening is anyone who hears it will be forced to pass on. So basically, we put in our noise canceling headphones, we turn up the jams, and we let it go. But of course, this thing's not just going to go down without a fight, so it cuts the head off. Successfully does that. Okay, it's still talking. Slits the mouth, slits the tongue so it can't do it. And the fact that it then goes to saying like, you know what? And this is excellent foreshadowing. I can take the corpses of whether it's these dead animals, the spirits that are hanging here, and I can keep the chant going. And what's brilliant about that foreshadowing is I'm not thinking anything of it because they have the headphones on and they never take them out seemingly. So I was like, oh, this means they're fine. So that's cool. That all's well that ends well. And then somehow our boy just gets infected. And the fact that they established that once you hear it, you can't stop until you're passed on. How the hell are you going to deal with this? I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, they can try sealing it back again, but obviously she's kind of one-handed, and she's usually the one who kind of chains up everything. So the idea of having to not only realize that you're 20 seconds away from dying, you're in this uncomfortable situation where you can barely breathe because a hand's down your throat, and you have to chain up, bag up, and try to put this stupid stuffed animal head into lockdown because it wants to kill you. This is what I love about the horror. We don't rely on jump scares. We don't rely on cheap thrills. Instead, these are situations that you're like, damn, I don't want to be a part of this. But then when you see just how far they're going and just how far, especially the relationship between Yayoi as well as Keitaro has grown, not in the way that it's like, oh, there's just these massively different characters, but just the genuine care and compassion that they both have for each other. Both of them would have been dead at multiple moments. Like, she even says, like, had she not heard Keitaro call out, she would have been in that trance and she would have died there, 100%. And Keitaro, I mean, just look at the number of times that she saves his ass. It is a mutual, beneficial relationship, and I like how you have this almost like brother-sister bond brewing here, and it's very interesting what they ended up doing with this severed head. Once the body comes back too, like, it's a very pissed off spirit initially, but I like what they did because it shows that this wasn't actually someone negative or like a horrible person. Yeah, definitely has killed and has done some very bad things, but the idea of this talisman almost like corrupting, and just the idea that, we saw our boy last week, slit his own throat basically because of what was going on. But the idea of almost like, had she not been corrupted by the talisman, most likely the memories would have just been given to someone like Keitaro without the negative baggage, like giving people wounds or anything like that. But the idea that this talisman, just the idea that, just seeing the night and day difference of the guilt, the shame, but the thanks of setting her free. At first I was a little disappointed because I thought, it'd be really cool to have a spirit that we don't have to really worry, like we'd always have it around and she would be very pleasant. But I think it works much better that in these situations, right, sometimes we'll just set them free, they'll have a peaceful life, they won't pass on, and they'll be there for us when we need them. And in this case, as she explains, we'll basically have a shield. And I don't know if it's a limited time use. I imagine as long as the spirit isn't killed and forced to pass on, we can probably call in the help as much as we need, as long as we're not abusing it and pissing her off, which I doubt is going to happen. So the idea of pretty much going across this region, just gym badge after gym badge, collecting new spirits, new allies to build up our army in order to take out the big bad. This really is the horror version of Pokemon, and it's absolutely fantastic to see how far we've gone now over 12 episodes, and that's why I'm so happy we still have another core going into this next anime season, because this is a horror anime unlike anything I've ever seen. I'd personally put it up there as my personal favorite horror anime that I've seen at this point. I'm gonna say it right now, I've seen 12 episodes worth. Honestly, a lot of horror anime don't even go past 12 episodes, so I feel safe saying that at this point in time. And honestly, everything I've heard about where the story's going to go from here just gets crazier and more intense, so I imagine my love for this is only going to grow, never dip or anything like that. I mean, just every time I saw Keitaro, because it's so unnerving, like, I hate like throat wounds, like anything, whether it's a slit or a stab, and I find it so ridiculous that Yayoi, I'm not saying she didn't have a hard time as well, but she made Keitaro bury the talisman. She had no throat wound. Our boy had an exposed throat wound, and he had to bury it. And the fact that the next day, he's literally bandaged up, and what happens? Oh yeah, we're going after another S rank, and now you can come along, Eiko. Give the man a break. I understand we are people with missions here, but he still has a throat wound. At some point, he's gonna be going into these new missions with a full body cast, limping in, being like, can we just have a single day off, please? But of course, that wouldn't make for good television, so you know it ain't gonna happen. But let me know what you thought of episode 12 of Dark Gathering down below, and how excited are you for Core 2 starting up soon. Let me know down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring the bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel, and like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon if you're interested, and hey, while you're there you also get a video shout out. So today we have Tech Knight, Teeny Bopper, T Greeny 1, The Random Man Anime Man, Thomas Abert, and Thrilled Axes 709. So I appreciate the support everyone, please take care and have a good one.